All right, everyone, welcome to Ionan's Edge. Today I'm reviewing the Giant Mouse GM F3 fixed blade. That's what we got for you. Let's jump right in with some basic specs. We got Bowler N690 stainless steel with a high flat grind. The knife uses a black wash finish across the entire blade, spine, and tang. It uses bead blasted stainless steel fasteners. This particular one has red micarta scales, which are removable, by the way. I'll show you that a little later in the video. But it also is offered currently with green micarta and my favorite, the natural brown micarta scales. There is exactly 3 inches of usable fine cutting edge on this knife. The scale length is 3.5 inches. Tip to tail is 6.5 inches. The weight is just a smidge under 2.8 ounces. And the blade spine thickness, which is really nice, is 160 thousandths. What I like about this knife, in this size range, this is a very, very solid fixie. It has good hand-friendly ergos. You can get all 4 of your fingers. Again, I have large glove-sized hands. On the back, there is some jimping on the top of the blade. Fairly thick spine, as I just mentioned, as a lot of Giant Mouse knives tend to have. And the scales are removable. So you've got some pretty good ergos, especially if you're up here choked up in like a Filipino or modified saber grip. But you can also get all your fingers on it if you want to use it in a hammer grip for poking or piercing. So let me pause the video real quick, and I'm going to take the scales off and show you what it looks like without those. So hold on just a sec. Alrighty, so we're back. That only took about a minute and a half. We took the 2 scales off. As you can see, they go right here. Very easy to take on and off. And the knife is still very, very comfortable. Definitely has a much thinner profile. Not that it's a very thick knife to begin with, but you can really feel this jimping a little bit more on the back when you've got the scales off. So plenty of room there. Makes the knife even lighter. And I really like that. As far as the usability of the knife, it's very slicey. It was really solid at most of the cutting tasks I threw at it in the amount of time I've had the knife. It rips through cardboard very, very nicely. It's got a very, thin, high, flat grind, so no issues with that. I was able to shave down, make some nice, really nice 2x4 shavings for fire starting with it. It's one of the tests I do on a lot of knives. I didn't go wild on this knife because this knife is on loan to me from the one and only Grumpy Grunt. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. I really enjoyed carrying this knife and testing it out, and I appreciate the opportunity. So after using it for a while and cutting a lot of stuff on it over the last few weeks, all I've really had to do is strop this knife one time. I just ran it a few, like 3 or 4 passes on each side over a strop and just put it right back to nice and sharp again. The edge held up really nice, and I love this finish. And I'm not a fan of satin finishes on knives that are going to be put into everyday carry, practical field use. I would much rather have bead blasted, silver washed, or black washed like this. So I'm a big fan of that. I really like it. I really like the ergos on this knife for the size that this knife is. Again, I believe this is just about a perfect size everyday carry knife. It's not too big. It's not exceedingly small. It's got 3 inches of good cutting space on it. So kudos for all of that. Like I said, I do like that it has a thicker spine as well. So are there any dislikes? Are there any things I don't like about the knife? There's a couple small things about the knife and one other thing that's non-knife related, so to speak. I really love this jimping they put on there. I think Giant Mouse does a great job with the jimping on the back of their knife. It's usable and not too aggressive. The spine is pretty thick, so you do get a pretty good purchase on the knife, but I wish that they had just extended this jimping out about this equal distance to the back and to the front, because a lot of times I found myself going like this and choking up on the knife, and then I would be in front of the jimping. Here's the jimping here, and here's my finger up here. I would have liked that they had put this a little further forward. If you have, it is a comfortable position, but if you have bigger hands, I can see how you'd choke forward of it, and then you'd really wish that you had a little bit more positive feel up here as you get closer to the tip where the spine does start to get a little narrower. It's a small thing, but again, it's something that I feel like they could have, very easily just added a little bit more back here and a little bit more up here, and they would have given you a little bit more confidence in holding the knife up close there. But again, that's not a big deal. Secondly, although you can buy a Kydex sheath from Giant Mouse, it does not come with that. It comes only with this beautifully leather crafted, embossed with the Giant Mouse logo sheath. But the problem is it only is carried in the drop position. So for me personally, that's a waste for me because I don't carry in drop. I pretty much carry in Scout. If I'm going to carry a knife this size, I want to carry it in Scout. I want to carry it horizontally on my waist so that I can draw it out. I don't like drop because I like to conceal my knives for the most part. And even though this is a beautifully made sheath, it only offers you that one position. If they had offered like an alternative flip of leather here, and I suppose you could have one sewn on, but then that would cost money. The Kydex holster is $40. You don't get it with the knife. And there isn't an option that I saw on Giant Mouse's website to order the Kydex one. And the Kydex one offers you both drop and Scout position. So you can carry vertically or horizontally with the Kydex, but not with the leather. So this to me is a detraction. Unless you mainly carry drop, then this would probably be great for you. But to have to buy the knife and then spend an extra $40 for the Kydex holster, not so cool. But again, that's not a knife-related issue. That's more of an ordering issue through Giant Mouse. Maybe there's a way to call and order just the Kydex and not the leather. I don't know. But on the website, it doesn't show an option for that I saw. But you can buy the Kydex. So the third thing is, with the scales off, this fits nice and deeply into this pouch. And I believe this is probably the way that Grumpy carried it, because the leather is not really stretched out a lot like this. But once you put the scales on this and you add the extra thickness to the knife, you really got to force it down in there. And I suppose that if you carried it with the scales all the time, you would do that. I did not do that because I did not want to change the form of the leather on a knife that I have on loan to me. The knife fits really nice and deep in there. It really does. And it's not super big. It doesn't hang down ridiculously off your belt, but enough so that you can't, in a lot of instances, you can't just untuck your shirt and have the knife not be visible. So again, I would have loved if this would have been available in horizontal / a Scout type position to carry on either the small of my back or on the left side of my belt in the front. But again, that's just a small thing. Like I said, if you're carrying it without the scales, fits in there beautifully, nice and deep. But if you have the scales on, you're going to have to, form the leather up a little more to it. Goes in and out a little bit harder. That's really the only detractions I have for the knife. Good steel, good build quality. At $190, it's between $190 and $195. I've seen it. This is an excellent everyday carry, small form factor fixie. Let's give you a couple of quick size comparisons. So here it is next to a full-sized bug out. And you can see, again, I have the scales off, so it looks a little thinner and a little less bulky, but with the scales on, it's a little thicker. A little smaller than a bug out, but it's supposed to be a nice concealable everyday carry fixie. So there it is next to that. Now I'll give you another comparison. Here it is next to a mini bug out. So you see you're getting a lot less cutting blade edge with the mini bug out, but it is going to be about that size. So it gives you a good idea of how this knife is. It doesn't feel as small as a bug out in your hands, but it doesn't feel as big and as long, as a mini, but it doesn't feel as big and as long as a full-size bug out either. So there's the size comparisons, like I said, around $190. It's well designed, well built. I enjoyed using this knife immensely. I do not have very many fixed blades in my collection at the moment. I wished I had the other holster and I could have Scout carried it. I would have probably carried it a little more over the time I've had it. But I did enjoy this knife a lot. If you like fixies and you have the funds to add this to your everyday carry rotation, I highly recommend it. I do plan on buying one of these, but I will probably spring for a different sheath on this thing at some point after I purchase it. So there you go. This is the Giant Mouse GMF3. And that is that, folks. I definitely think this is a cool knife. I think it's worth purchasing if you have the funds. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the review. As always, folks, stay sharp.